Don't think healthcare professionals have any business experience? Think again. No topic is off limits as we share tales from our brave hosts who will always tell it like it is. We are hashtag No Filter Healthcare. Here to guide you through your healthcare journey are your hosts, Taylor Dunn and Tamara Donda. We want to thank our sponsor, Uptime Health, the leading healthcare equipment and compliance management software company, for bringing this podcast to fruition. Visit uptimehealth.com to learn more. Let's get started.
Welcome to hashtag No Filter Healthcare. I'm your co-host, Taylor Dunn.
And I'm your other co-host, Tamara Donda. And today we have our guest speaker, India Chance, who is a compliance consultant and certified infection control educator at Learn to Prevent.
We're so happy to have you today, India.
Hi, guys. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited for this one.
We are too. And I just have to start by saying, I think you have one of the coolest names ever.
I get that all the time.
I'm sure you do. I'm
Yeah.
Wait, her name's India Chance? That's not real.
I had somebody come up to me one time and said, Are you sure you're not on a soap opera? That's a soap opera name. I'm like, I get it all the time. I can't take credit, My parents gave me my first name and my husband gave me my last name. So I got to give all the credit away for that one.
That's right. Well, I love having you here today, and we are so excited to learn more about you, your background, and learn to prevent. So let's get started. We'd love to have you just introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, I am a dental hygienist by trade. I've been in the dental industry about 27 years. And I started Learn to Prevent in 2017. And that was just really from a friend came up to me and said, Hey, India, you really are into like the dental business side. Someone needs some help with expanding and growing their dental hygiene department. Why don't you check it out and see if you can do a little consulting for them? And I was still seeing patients and everything, but being in dentistry for so long, you learn the ropes and all of that. And so I did that, and the practice owner at the time came to me and said, Hey, are you open to, providing some CE courses? And I said, well, why don't we get some other experts to come in, because really educating the team is so very important if you want to grow any department in a dental practice, and really being able to implement certain protocols and things like that. So I reached out to someone in my area, and she happened to be a compliance consultant, and she asked me what was my end game. And sometimes there are certain words that are buzzwords for you, right? And so that end game was one of them for me. And she said, "Well, look, I'm retiring, and there's going to be a great opportunity in the area if you want to take over compliance consulting for, where we live." Which is in Maryland. And I said, of course, absolutely. So she kind of became a mentor to me. And then I branched off and just began growing Learn to Prevent. And that's how I got into it. And it's good because I'm a rule follower. My brother used to tease me when I was little and say, "You always are trying to follow all the rules all the time, give it a rest." So I think I really found my calling, I think.
I think so too. I feel like that's a common theme with anyone that works in compliance. Like they clearly had a history of being rule followers.
Yes. Yeah, don't call my brother on this show. He will totally tell you. I used to get him in trouble all the time,
Oh,
so yeah.
well, I love the background. I actually didn't know that. So that's really cool to learn how you got started.
Mhm.
But so, let's get into our first, hashtag no filter question. So for some business owners who don't really know where to begin when it comes to infection control, OSHA, HIPAA compliance, I want to take a look at what happens when a facility attempts to become compliant without an expert like yourself. So when you walk into that kind of scenario, what are some of the common mistakes that you see happen? And we'd love to have that no filter answer so our listeners can
Okay.
get the honest truth and actually
Right.
do something about it.
Right. Well, I will say this, it's not that it's impossible to do compliance on your own. It just is a lot. There are a lot of rules, a lot of regulations. And although a lot of practices try to implement everything on their own, inevitably things fall through the cracks, right? And having a compliance consultant is that extra layer of expertise. That person comes in, they can immediately, kind of look at the different areas around the office and see, okay, you guys aren't doing this, that, and that. And so I would say one of the biggest areas, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on this podcast, okay, but one of the biggest areas that offices really fail in when they're doing compliance on their own is the record keeping department. They really don't. It's a couple of things. They either don't know everything that they're supposed to be recording, they don't know how long they're supposed to keep these records, they don't even know, like I said, what to record, they don't know how to do it because there's certain information that you need to record on, depending on the protocol or the equipment or something like that. And so sometimes the offices are not doing it at all. Or you might have, this is really common when offices do their own compliance. One person gets put in charge of being like the lead or the infection control coordinator or the person in charge of the program, and they either leave the office or they get a new position, but most of the time it's they leave the office and nobody knows what they were doing for the last 3 years. And so it's, it ends up becoming a mess. There's gaps, and unfortunately, when you have a situation like that, the practice owners really leave themselves open for liability. And, if they're ever involved in inspections, dental board inspections or even OSHA inspections, they really get into a lot of trouble with that because they just don't know. There's not a really clear program that's implemented and there's no organization with that. And then nobody really knows what's going on. And sometimes when I walk into an office, I'm like, wait a minute, you're the practice owner. You should kind of know what's going on. So, but unfortunately, they're focused on dentistry. And so even though they're trying to do the right thing, it's a lot. It's a lot to remember. It's a lot to learn. And you can't learn everything you need from a 2-hour CE course. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all.
Yeah, and there's a lot that comes into play with like reoccurring maintenance too, like keeping up with it, right? Like you can establish all these protocols in place, but are you going to keep up with it? Who's going to manage it?
Yeah,
It seems to
exactly.
be the same issue all around. But
Hmm.
so I guess when a client is ready for your services, what does the process look like? Do they shut down the clinic? Do you like appoint a person within the clinic to be able to, manage all of this? How does all of that work?
So what we do is we go in and we first do what we call an assessment. It's kind of like a baseline assessment. So we don't want anybody shutting down their practice. We want to come in and see how you guys work in real time with real patients because that gives us an idea of habits, work habits. It gives us an idea of workflows, efficiency and productivity. It also gives us a really good idea. We go in and we inspect the record keeping, so we get a really good picture of what's happening, and we give every dental practice a grade as if they're in school. And so depending, we often laugh about it with our clients because they're like, oh my god, this is the first exam I've ever failed, right? I pass everything in dental school and stuff, but yeah, so we start there. And then what we do is we do training and we work with different team members that are assigned to different roles in the practice. We like to work with practices who are open to appointing an infection control coordinator. You have to have somebody in charge. And then they can delegate to the rest of the team. So that's kind of how we get started and how we work with our clients.
I think that's a great answer because anytime anyone comes into a healthcare facility and says, I need to shut down your office in order to do my job, I don't think you're going to get much business.
No, no, they would definitely
You'd be
escort me out of the
surprised.
dental practice.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about medical, but I know dental, I would be escorted off the premises immediately, and there would
Rightfully
be,
so, though. I
there
would do
would
the
be a
same thing.
Facebook post posted about me. I mean, no, no, we really do. I mean, being in dentistry gives me a unique perspective on how important it is to maintain production, right? And to keep patients in the chair. And because, yes, we're delivering healthcare, but it's also a business, it's very expensive to run a dental practice. And so we've tried to come up with creative ways to get compliance done and implemented in the practice in a way to where it's very limited. It's a very limited amount of times that we've asked dental practices to cancel patients or shut down for the day. Typically, that comes from the practice, not from us. We try to work, on days when they don't have patients or during lunch hours, lunch breaks,
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
Right.
hmm
So, one of the things we were talking about, like the whole Facebook idea, right? Like if someone were to find a word that you were trying to, close down, they'd probably freak
Right.
out. So I think in general, when it comes to compliance, it's, not the most glamorous of topics, right? So
Right.
how do you, tell them obviously that this is something that this is important, right? I need to listen to this. Is there something that is unique to Learn to Prevent, like in your selling process, that gets them to perk up and be like, okay, this is something I actually need to be held accountable for?
Well, at Learn to Prevent, it's a couple of things. We really, our biggest motto is give first, serve always. So we're all about like going the extra mile with our clients and making sure they get everything they need. We always lead with, and the name of our program is Safety Made Simple. So we're trying to like make this super simple for you. We don't need it to, because like you said, it is not the most glamorous, exciting topic. I mean, they would rather be on the beach somewhere. They would probably rather be doing a filling or a cleaning on a patient than listen to me train, right? So, I mean, we do try to, we've streamlined the whole process to get a full compliance program implemented. um, we try to do a lot of holding hands of certain practices if they need it. And if they don't need it, then we're a little bit more hands off. So even though we have a system that we implement, it's still customizable, which is what we've gotten a lot of feedback on that, and a lot of the offices love that because every single dental practice is different. The environment is different. The demographic is different. The practice owner, the leadership is different, and the needs are different. So, everything is great in theory, but you hear it in a CE course, but when you try to go implement it and apply it, it's like, what did she or he just
Yeah.
say? I don't even know like what they were trying to say.
Right.
So what we do is we break it down, we make it really simple. We work side by side. You will definitely catch myself and the other assistant I have. We will be in testing water lines and showing them how to do the record keeping, right there next to them. So that's kind of what makes us different. And we really do try to serve our clients and provide everything that they need because it is pretty simple, it's just a lot of information. It's not rocket science, these are government mandates and government rules and regulations, and once you kind of understand them, they're easier to implement in the practice.
Are you in multiple states or are you just specific to Maryland?
No, we're in multiple states, so, we have a high concentration in what we call the DMV area, so that's DC, Maryland, Virginia, but then we
Didn't
have.
know it was called that. That's
Yeah,
just
the DMV. Yeah, we call it the DMV, right? Because we're all really tight. It's a really tight kind of area over here. So DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And then so I have clients in the Carolinas, have online clients in different states, have a few clients in Texas. Where else? Just other states. So we really typically work across the country. We could do virtual, we can do in person, whatever, the practice owner prefers.
very cool.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for being on today's episode, India. Compliance, as we know, is always a tough subject, but it's important for really any business, especially in healthcare when it's coming to patient safety. So, we really appreciate all this information. And if anyone would like to learn more about Learn to Prevent, you can visit their website. It's learn with the number 2 prevent.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast or comment below if you have any questions for us. Thanks, India.
Thank you.